Yamunatiram Vanachari Yamunatiram Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की आनंद कोटि वैष्णववृंद की नामचर्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोविंद श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की समवेत भक्तवृंद की all glories to the Assembly Lord Hare Krishna, all glories to the Assembly Lord Hare Krishna, all glories to the Assembly Lord Hare Krishna, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Prabhupada, Bhakti Vikas, Swami Iti Namine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, reading from, can I get a book? Reading from Canto 3, text, chapter 5, text number 18. Maitre Uvacha साधु पृष्टं त्वया साधो लोकान् साधु अनुगृह्णात्. So I should be looking down here probably. Huh? Okay, sorry, I should be looking down here. Sadhu Sadhu anughrhnata kirtim vitanvata loke atmanah adhokshaja atmanah. Maitreya vacha साधु पृष्ठं त्वया साधो लोकान् साधवनुगृह्णता कीर्तिं वितन्वता लोके आत्मनो दुःखजात्मनः. मैत्रेयो वाच साधु पृष्ठं त्वया साधो लोकान् साधो अनुगृह्णता कीर्तिं वितन्वता लोके आत्मनो दुःखजात्मनः. मैत्रेय उवाच साधु पृष्ठं त्वया साधो लोकान् साधवनुगृह्णता कीर्तिं वितन्वता लोके आत्मनो दुःखजात्मनः. मैत्रेय उवाच साधु पृष्ठं साधु लोके मैत्रेयोवाच साधु पृष्ठं साधु मैत्रेयोवाच साधु पृष्ठं त्वया साधु लोके आत्मनोदक्षजात्मनः. मैत्रेयोवाच साधु पृष्ठं त्वया साधु लोकान् साधु अनुगृह्णता लोके आत्मनो दक्षजात्मनः. मैत्रेयोवाच साधु पृष्ठं त्वया साधु लोकान् साधवनुगृह्णता कीर्तिं वितन्वता लोके आत्मनो साधु गृह्णता कीर्तिं वितन्वता लोके आत्मनः. Okay. Maitreya Vacha. Shri Maitreya said, Sadhu, oh good, Prishtam, I'm asked, Tvaya, by you, Sadho, oh good one, Lokan, all the people, Sadhu anugarnata, showing mercy and goodness. Kirtim, glories. Vitanvata, broadcasting. Loke, in the world. Atmanaha, of the self. Adhokshaja, the transcendence. Atmanaha, mind. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Sri Maitreya said, O Vidura, all glories unto you. You have inquired from me of the greatest of all goodness, and thus you have shown your mercy both to the world and to me, because your mind is always absorbed in the thoughts of the transcendence. Purport. Maitreya Muni, who was experienced in the science of transcendence, could understand that Vidura's mind was fully absorbed in transcendence. Adokshaja means that which transcends the limit of sense perception and sensuous experience. The Lord is transcendental to our senses, transcendental to our sense experience, but He reveals Himself to the sincere devotee. Because Vidura was always absorbed in the thought of the Lord, Maitreya could estimate Vidura's transcendental value. He appreciated the valuable inquiries of Vidura and thus thanked him with great honor. Om Jnanati Vrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumita Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapita Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakana Lalita Shiv Jakan Vitam Shehe Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavanda Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Khanta Namasate तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रियवांश कपद्रव्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय पुतले श्रीमते भक्तिविकास स्वामिनिति नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय पुतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नमः नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशचारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktinda Jnanananda Mayam Devam Nirmashpar Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Jnanananda Mayam Devam Nirmashpatikakritam Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Haigrivam Upasmahe Guru Vaishna Bhagavan Tinir Smarana Hoy Vigna Vinashana Naya Shahay Nija Vanchita Purana. Sorry, just gonna quickly. Okay, so here we're continuing on with Vidura and Maitreya's conversation and their exchanges between each other. Vidura is approaching Maitreya and asking him so many questions in regards to the transcendence. Dokshaja, one who is beyond sense perception. And so we see, as Vishnu Chitta Prabhu was describing, actually Vidura is more senior than Maitreya. And so it almost seems contradictory that a senior is approaching a junior for advice or to glorify the Lord. But it was, saying how actually that this is, by Maitreya, he's seeing it as a service. He's not seeing it as, I'm better than Vidura. Oh, look, Vidura is coming. And I'm about to tell him all of the pastimes of the Lord, because he probably doesn't know them, therefore he's asking. I mean, he begins the whole thing by asking very basic questions. He doesn't approach him immediately with some high questions about, tell me about the intimate pastimes of the Lord. He mentions to Maitreya that I'm actually, I'm not a very high-level devotee. I just want to know about general materialistic things here, like how one can make advancement. Specifically, he mentions he's very humble in his own attitude that I'm not very advanced. Anyways, I'm not going to probably find the exact thing here. But we can understand from his approach that the Vidura or Maitreya could have easily taken the position of being the guru, but he understood Vidura's position very well. So Srila Prabhupada, in a few places, we have the famous verse that that a Vaishnava, the Kriya Mudra Vigneha Bhujiya, that one cannot understand the activities of Vaishnava, one cannot understand a Vaishnava just by his actions sometimes. So one may not be able to actually see a Vaishnava by his bodily qualities. Therefore, Rupa Goswami, he teaches us in Nectar of Devotion, Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyat, or in the next verse, he teaches us, how does that start? Drishtei subhava janitei vapuchashta doshair na prakritatam ehe bhakta janasya pashyad gangam bhasam na khalu buddhapena pankair pramadhrivattam avagachyati niradharmaihi. That one should not judge a devotee according to his bodily qualities, or it may be deformed or born in a low family, a diseased, infirm body. So, according to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a devotee, but despite such defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. So, the point being made that Maitreya did not see a devotee with his eyes. He did not try to judge him, or even by his questioning. Like he's asking some of the basic questions, and it's like, well, why are you asking this? You're meant to be the pure devotee of the Lord. But Maitreya is able to see, he's able to actually understand where the position of Vidura. As a Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranativischa bhajantim isham shushrushaya bhajana vignam ananyamanya indadi shunyam hridam ipshita sangalabdhya. That one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in the worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of propensity to criticize others. So, it is very hard to recognize. It is very hard to recognize sometimes when one is an advanced devotee. I mean, I'm sure we have experience in our own lives when there's an advanced devotee in front of us, but we may not even recognize him. We may have not even given it significance. And later, after years of some level of practice of devotional service and becoming purified, we look back and go, oh, that was a very high, he's a pure devotee of the Lord. That happened to me when I was in New Govardhan. In Australia. And I was helping Prabhu, my mind doesn't, remembering names for me is like practically impossible. Harishwari Prabhu. And he happened to just kind of be going by, and I was like, I was just an old man, and he has Parkinson's, so struggles to walk, and I was like, oh, it's probably a nice thing to do, so I should probably help him just walk across, because he was trying to get to the ashram, and I thought, oh, it's probably, it looks like some sort of devotee, should help him. And so I helped him and go to the ashram, and he asked on the way, so who's going to help me shave my head today? And I was like, oh, not me, it's like, I don't have time to do that. But then later, one of the devotees told me, oh, he's a Prabhupada disciple. And I was like, oh, I probably should have, volunteered to help him even shave his head. I was like happy, somehow or other, that Agyata Shukriti, he happened to be there, and I happened to help him across. And then now I look back and I understand what his position is. And I'm like, what a fool I was, What a fool I was. I could not recognize the Vaishnava, the intimate associate of Srila Prabhupada, who was serving him for so many years. But I couldn't see. Why? Because one cannot, you don't have the eyes to see, so how can you recognize? You're contaminated with materialistic vision, thinking that a devotee is dressed in a certain way, talks in a certain way, acts in a certain way. That is there in general. But by our neophyte vision, we may not be able to recognize advanced devotee. Just like for myself, I didn't recognize my spiritual master particularly as an advanced devotee in the beginning. He's too heavy, he's too critical, he's too this and that. Because of the conditioned nature and being a neophyte, you can't actually recognize. And therefore Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the 11th canto mentions these points of a Kanishta Adhikari, that he is his foolish vision, and he projects that onto the Uttama Adhikaris, or even the Madhyama Adhikaris, and brings them down to his level. He cannot see properly. So, Srila Prabhupada comments in the, I think in the 6th verse here, that actually the qualification to see a pure devotee of the Lord is to become, actually, to have that vision of a devotee, to be a devotee, to try to become purified. So Srila Prabhupada specifically mentions that Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material condition, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. One should therefore not see a pure devotee from materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. As explained in the previous verses, there are 3 types of devotees: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. So the Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee. He's simply concerned with worshipping the deity in the temple. So that is the position of a Kanishta. He just cannot see. It's like because he only sees the deity and he doesn't regard the devotees of the Lord so strongly. So he may advancement for him on that platform is very difficult, because advancement is dependent on the mercy of the Vaishnavas. They guide us, they teach us. It's a sadhu sangha. So Maitreya, he could recognize, but the qualification to recognize is that one himself must be a devotee of the Lord. One must become purified, just like, it's a fact that we have become purified over time, so we've been able to recognize Vaishnavas for who they are, certain Vaishnavas in their particular positions they may be. So, and the more we become purified, the more we be able to understand a Vaishnava's position according to the level of devotion we're able to develop to the platform of adokshaja, in where we're going beyond just sense perception, beyond just seeing a Vaishnava. We're actually understanding the movements of a Vaishnava, because we start to understand what is Krishna consciousness, what is not Krishna consciousness. As Srila Prabhupada describes often in his Bhagavad Gita, that sometimes a devotee's activities don't look to be Krishna conscious. Externally, it looks the same as a materialist. But only a devotee can recognize, this person is absorbed in transcendence. Only a devotee can recognize that. Of course, there's symptoms of that also, but only a devotee can recognize the symptoms, because he understands the science of devotion service, and that's what Srila Prabhupada exactly says here in the purport about Maitreya Muni. That because Maitreya Muni understood the science of Krishna consciousness, he understood the science of transcendence, he could recognize who is in transcendence. But the science of transcendence is not a material A plus B equals C. That's to be understood. That's why this word adokshaja is being used very, as Srila Prabhupada says nicely here, that which transcends the limit of sense perception. So even that science of devotion service, it's not a plus B equals C. It's not just this, what we consider science in modern age of, okay, here is the theory, here is the exact, symptoms you'll see, such and such and such. It's not exactly like that. There is a level of devotion. There is that one's eyes become tinged with the love of Godhead, and then one is able to actually see through the proper lens the science of Krishna consciousness. Like I said, although there is symptoms that is observed in the Vaishnava at the same time, that he is very attached to the glorification of the Lord, that he is able to convince others of the same thing. He is detached from material life. These are seen. But in themselves, some people can also imitate that. So then one has to be able to see properly through the eyes of devotion. And that's what we're seeing here with Maitreya. And Maitreya, his position is also very interesting, because Srila Prabhupada comments in another place that it's not that Maitreya is actually a pure devotee of the Lord. Prabhupada says that. He says that Maitreya's position is that he is a great learned scholar. And he is the son of, here I'm going to bring up, here we go. Maitreya was one of the disciples of Maharaj Parashara, the father of Vyasadeva. Sorry, I don't know who's, Maharishi? No, sorry, Maharishi Parashara. Sorry, Maharaj, maybe I said, sorry. So the Vyasadeva and Maitreya were friends and mutual well-wishers. By some fortunate accident, Maitreya reaches the place where Krishna was resting. To meet the Lord is not an ordinary incident. Maitreya was a great sage and a learned scholar, philosopher, but not a pure devotee of the Lord. And therefore his meeting with the Lord at the time may have been due to Agyata Sukriti or some unknown devotional service. Pure devotees always engage in pure devotional activities, and therefore their meeting with the Lord is natural. But when those who are not up to that standard meet the Lord, it is due to unforeseen fortune of accidental devotional service. So Maitreya Muni, he somehow or other, it's as Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually mentions also, he says, how do you come across devotees? How do you get the mercy? It's by accident, by some chance. By some chance you come across. It's a causeless mercy. It's just by chance. There's no cause to it. It's just the mercy of the Lord. So unforeseen fortune of accidental devotional service. Just like in my own case also, accidental devotional service, performing service to Harishwari Prabhu in an unknown way. I didn't know who he was. I have no clue who Harishwari Prabhu was. And it was like, so I'm sure as a part of that, it's like accidental devotional service. Actually, if I think about it, for some reason it just occurred to me, that was the time when I started chanting 16 rounds, and it became like a little bit of a determination in my life that I want to do this for the rest of my life. And for some reason, I never thought about it like that. This is the first time I connected the two, actually. Because I was there, and okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was there, and I was there for this Kirtan festival, actually. And I always thought, well, I'm surprised that this Kirtan festival fixed me up, because when we look back at it now, it's like, to this day, I've been thinking, yeah, okay, maybe there is something there. And there's this one bogus person chanting, and I thought, okay, maybe the holy name is somehow entered, and it's like, but now I'm thinking about it, it's actually this that help help understand the platform of devotional service, this service to a Vaishnava that, anyways, never occurred to me before. So it's very interesting how this Agyata Sukriti comes about by somehow meeting. I didn't even know that he was there. I don't know what the hell I was doing there. And I was only chanting like 4 or 5 rounds a day until then, still attached to different things. But at that time of my life, at that particular time, I remember there was something that just came about, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It was some determination within the heart that was aroused. And it seems now that it was particularly the mercy of that devotee, that's by that me not even recognizing his platform that he's on. So the meeting of the Lord or the meeting the Vaishnavas is actually not different. It's the same. Why? Because they teach what the Lord has taught, or their only position is to give you the platform of being able to associate with the Lord. They're speaking about the Lord, they're talking about the pastimes of the Lord, because their vibration is pure and their presence is pure, the Lord is present there. So Maitreya is meeting Vidura, and as we have the verse, now I'm forgetting, but by the mercy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, we meet the spiritual master. How does that start? Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. And that is a very much the essence, that is what is going on here with Maitreya and Vidura. That by the mercy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, somehow, Maitreya came across the Supreme Lord by his Agyata Sukriti, accidental devotional service. And then, as a mercy of the Lord, that mercy has been that Vidura has come and approached Maitreya to ask questions. And he's feeling great joy. Oh, I get to do service to a Vaishnava. He's feeling great joy within his heart that I'm able to do mercy, and by the mercy of Krishna, he's able to see that Vidura is a Vaishnava and treat him accordingly. And we understand that to be a Madhyama platform also, that a devotee can see. A definition is given in the 11th canto of the Madhyama Adhikari, that an intimate or second-class devotee called Madhyama Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality Godhead, is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality Godhead. And we see that in Maitreya within this verse, actually. We see that he is his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by meeting him was there. And then also, that was there that he's a sincere friend to Vidura, and that he is showing mercy to the ignorant people, because he says that you've shown your mercy both to the world and to me. He's saying, because you are transversing in this earth, and you have come to inquire about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, actually the only purpose that you have is you're looking out for the fallen conditioned souls. Sangsara dava nalalida loka tranaya karana ghana ghanatvam. That he's seeing, these people are burning in this material existence. So he's taking this position of humility, Vidura, to go and inquire from Maitreya. And Maitreya being level of this, the symptoms that is described of Madhyamadikari, of course, the Uttamadikari may also come down to the level of a Madhyama, but specifically seeing his symptoms that is being described here, of that of a Madhyamadikari. He's a dear devotee of the Lord, he regards the devotees properly, and he sees the mercy to the ignorant. He knows. Now he will describe the pastimes of the Lord. And the way he does it also is very interesting. Later in the 6th chapter, he says that he will, as devotees generally do, in spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear from the spiritual master and whatever I could assimilate, I am now describing glorification of the Lord by pure speech, for otherwise my power of speaking would remain unchaste. So his position is that he's going to glorify the Lord. He's going to, by the mercy of Vidura, he's going to be able to give that knowledge by which all of the people of the world can become benefited. And that is his vision. He doesn't see, I'm just going to get this. I'm just going to take this. He doesn't see Vidura as lower to him because you're coming in inquiring. It's not that he only cares about the Lord only, the deity, that's all I care about. No, all of these characteristics is seen in Vidura. So, and what is his position? He simply considers himself, he doesn't have ability. I don't have any inability. I have no ability. In spite of my inability, whatever I've been able to hear, whatever I could assimilate, I'm now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech. For otherwise, my power of speaking would remain unchaste. What is that pure speech? I'm simply repeating what my spiritual master has taught me. I'm simply repeating that. I don't have any, I'm trying, I have no other thing that I'm doing. Therefore, my speech is pure. Because I don't want to describe anything else. I'm just giving you what I'm hearing from my spiritual master. And that's what the pure devotees also want to hear. We don't approach a Vaishnava to hear some speculation. And we don't expect to hear some speculation. We can recognize when we approach a Vaishnava that you hear what you heard from the previous acharyas. And I'm recognizing that it's like, Spirit Guru Maharaj says when people read Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, that they feel, Srila Prabhupada's mood is exactly that of what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mood is. And my spiritual master goes, what else did you expect? What did you expect? It was going to be something different? It was going to be something like Srila Prabhupada is completely... No, it's the same. And then now I'm reading through some of this study guide of Nectar of Instruction. And I'm seeing the mood of Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and how it's just so in line and how connected you feel to the parampara. And it's kind of hard to understand until you actually read some of the works of like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's kind of hard to understand because we're reading Srila Prabhupada's books and we theoretically understand it, but to also have that, Vigyan, to have that realization of how that's coming down, it deepens your faith and your dedication to Srila Prabhupada. Because you understand, I'm understanding everything that you've read through Srila Prabhupada's books over the last couple of years, everything is assimilated so nicely from the teachings of the acharyas, and you're able to recognize that, and it's like, whoa, we've been given something in such a nice way, and so many devotees glorify that about Srila Prabhupada, but to start to see that, it gives you a realization of the exalted position of Srila Prabhupada. So, Vidura is always absorbed in the thought of the Lord, and Maitreya could estimate Vidura's transcendental value. He appreciated the valuable inquiries of Vidura, and thus thanked him with great honor. So this is the position Maitreya has. He has the ability to recognize who a Vaishnava is and to respect him accordingly, to actually develop proper respect, as Nectar of Instruction is teaching us. Actually, I was reading through that thing. Nectar of Instruction is guiding our activities within the Krishna consciousness movement. It is teaching us how to act as devotees, how we should function as devotees, what it means to become a devotee, how to come to the highest platform of devotional service. So we see that here, that how one should do that. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord. One should offer humble obeisance to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation and engaged in worshipping the deity. One should associate with and faithfully serve the pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So the Nectar of Devotion Nectar of Instruction teaches us this platform that Maitreya is functioning on. The Nectar of Instruction brings us to the platform of Uttamadhikari, what it means to see as a Uttamadhikari, or what it means to see as a Madhyamadhikari. So one should come up to that standard. Without that, one cannot treat the other devotees properly. One cannot understand how to actually serve the Vaishnavas properly on the platform of a Kanishta. He does not understand, or he may not be able to actually come to the platform of pure devotional service without accepting those instructions from a Vaishnava. So Maitreya is feeling very grateful that he's getting the association of Vidura here. And so, few more things that I may say. Sorry, I had a few things here, but I might have lost them. So, okay. So we should start to recognize the devotees of the Lord as who they are, and that takes some time to understand. So then we have to see, like we're saying, well, you can't just judge by activities, but those are good symptoms or recognitions of where they're at. Some devotees, like we were talking yesterday, Vishnu Sridhar Prabhu was giving examples of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and Jagannath Das Babaji, and then we have Vamsi Das Babaji. So many different, great Vaishnavas on the platform of transcendence that we probably wouldn't recognize. Like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, what does he know? Shastrically, what did he exactly, wasn't able to particularly write out all of these shastras like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did, or go and argue with so many people, such and such, may not have done that. But they were simply exhibiting devotion by their qualities and their ability. Who could recognize them? Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Those who, on the highest level, they're greatest of all scholars also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they could recognize the symptom of a Vaishnava, who the Vaishnava was. Therefore, very nicely described by Vishnu Sridhar Prabhu, they were going and surrendering seemingly to a person who was unlearned, who didn't really have so much ability to maybe recite so many shlokas and give so much scholarly knowledge, maybe not. But they went and they felt themselves subservient, very low, to the extent wanted to become, the speck of dust at the lotus feet of the Vaishnava. So that devotion is seen also, we start to establish our own devotional service and our association as we become purified. We start to realize what association is good for us and what association is not. We have experience in our own lives, and as we learn by experience as we go on, we can see in others' lives also how sometimes an association can be very detrimental in our lives, but still we associate with it. Still associate. What does it show? That means we're at the platform of neophyte. Actually, we're neophyte. We know our association is detrimental to our devotional service, but we continue to associate with that. Not only continue to associate, we invite it. Yes, I want to, yes. But we know it's detrimental to our devotion, so it's not good for us. It doesn't help us. The activities, the talks, the actions that come out of that association is all toxic for us. But still we want to associate. That means we cannot see. That means you may be able to see, you may be able to realize it's toxic, but you may not care. Because if you cared, you would change it. So on the platform of a neophyte, it's very difficult to advance because and then when we have other Vaishnavas that may be giving us good advice and showing us, sometimes we have bad associations, say, hey, look, this is, I've gone through this before. Like, don't be careful of this association. And actually point out the position they're in. And then what does Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur say? He said, then he sees them as his enemy. That is my enemy. He's not my friend anymore. He has no ability to guide me. He has no ability to say anything. Although they have gone out of their way to assist and try to help that person. Forget it. He has no ability to guide me. Okay, who is your guide? Your own mind, who goes and constantly associates with those that the other neophytes who constantly bring you down to that platform. So what is your position? Then you're qualified to recognize who is a exalted Vaishnava. Then they consider yourself qualified to recognize, he's not a Vaishnava. Oh, he's not that good of a Vaishnava. Oh, he's not. And then you have no discrimination. You have no understanding because you're covered by your own neophyte understanding. Don't take advice. They think, you're just puffed up. The other guy, they're instructing me, they're just puffed up. They think they're better than me. So a neophyte is not able to recognize his own position, where he's at, others' position, and act accordingly. He only acts on the level of what is almost pleasing to me and what is not pleasing to me. He doesn't act on the level of what is pleasing to Krishna, or what is pleasing to the Vaishnavas, what is displeasing to the Vaishnavas. Who is the Vaishnavas that I should take advice from? Who is the Vaishnava I should not take advice from? There is Vaishnavas who we should not take advice from. They are Vaishnavas, but they may not be to the platform of a pure devotee, or may be on the level of a Kanishta Adhikari. So, and that may have helped us in the past to a great extent, because we, some materialist, they're coming into the devotion service. Any association of any level of Vaishnava is greater than association of any of these three worlds. There's no doubt about that. But when we're trying to come up in our devotion service, one has Prabhupada makes the point, one has the endeavor to associate with Vaishnavas that are on a higher level. Because how do we recognize that? We see by that association that we're in may not be advancing us. We may be just talking prajalpa. We may be just wasting time. We may be just been years and still have no taste or some level of discussion of trying to advance in the taste of the holy name and service. It's always just a joke and a laugh, but there's no real direction in Krishna consciousness, and then we lose taste over time. There's a problem there in our life. Maybe we're not taking proper association, proper guidance. Otherwise, I think about it, and it's a fact. In our lives right now, we're at least for me, I'm the closest I've ever been to coming to the platform of pure devotional service. Why do I say that? Because we have a spiritual master, and we have Vaishnavas around us that are endeavoring to become pure. And because of that association, that's the closest I've ever been. I was like, my own position is like fallen. But the association that we currently have in our lives, this is the closest I've ever been in this human form life. My body doesn't particularly have crazy defects. It does so many, but it's functionable. It's a good ship. It's a good ship. I've got a good captain, as there's that song by Maharaj, I forget his. Anyways, that you got a good ship, you got a good captain. There's that song that he made. No, Akiladhar Prabhu. Vishnu Jan Maharaj. Yeah, there's that. You got a good ship, and it's come from it's a verse from the Bhagavatam that, yeah, but that the ship, the boat, we've been granted this human form of life in which, the mind is somewhat together, because when you look out there, my God, like some of these people just have no ability to even function straight. And then we've got the perfect captain to guide us. And then and then we've got the Srila Prabhupada's purports, the Vedas, the favorable winds. So we're the closest we've ever been. This is and we're being engaged in the highest welfare work of all existence. In the highest it's the highest platform of devotional service, distributing books and being engaged in the Sankirtan movement. No other yuga offers this to us. How much closer can you get? How much closer can you get? Can't get any closer. This is it. We've got a position in which the path is laid out for us. We just have to follow. But the mind tends to take us in so many other directions. Whereas the Vidura's mind, because your mind is always absorbed in thoughts of transcendence. And so our position should be that we're able to start to recognize where we're at in devotion service. We should honestly be able to look at ourselves and go, oh damn, this is where I'm at. And then seek that shelter by which we can come up to the platform that we need to, in order to come to this platform of transcendence, this adokshaja, beyond sense perception, to be able to actually come to the platform of real Krishna consciousness. So the meeting of such wonderful Vaishnavas, like Vidura, is very enlivening to Maitreya. It's very enlivening in our own lives when we came across Vaishnavas. And even now when we come across Vaishnavas that can, or start to recognize Vaishnavas that can help us come up in our devotional service. It is enlivening. Oh, great, wonderful that I've come to this ability to recognize this is the association that I should be a part of. This is the association that is helping me overcome my anarthas. This is the association that is pointing out my anarthas. So then we should be grateful for that, not be a neophyte and criticize that. And we should see, maybe not think ourselves so advanced. Maybe some devotees may point that out in us and say, oh, see, they're just criticizing. It requires us to be a little mature, to be able to recognize the position of different devotees, where they're at, and also our own position. So Maitreya is able to do that, and therefore he is taking all of the benefit one can get from associating with the Vaishnava. And what is the benefit? What is the benefit of associating with the Vaishnava? You get engaged in devotional service, yes. You get given the fruit of love of Godhead. That is what they carry in their hearts. They carry the Supreme Personality of Godhead within their hearts, and they transverse this earth. And they turn every single place into a tirtha by their presence. They can grant us that. They can imbue that within our heart just by what? Just by their sound. Because they hold the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They hold that, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we keep mentioning the point. Just by your talking you won't do much, but by the power of the pure holy name from the pure devotee, the lips of the pure devotee, it can enter within the heart and destroy that ignorance by which you can understand Krishna consciousness. So the pure devotee, by his speaking, he enters within the heart of the condition. He chops down the ignorance of the living entity. That sincerity of the living entity has to be there to want to know. But he in different ways engages different living entities in glorification of the Lord and expanding that glory, Yashoda, and to one who expands the glories. So they're expert in doing this, and therefore Vidura is such a great Vaishnava because that's what he's doing. He's going and inquiring about the Supreme Personality of God, although he's always absorbed in transcendence for the benefit of Maitreya and for the rest of the world. And that is the mood and the attitude and the mission and of the whole Gaudiya tradition coming in the line of Rupa Goswami. This is our mood. This is our mood where the spreading the Krishna consciousness movement in every village, every town and village, every corner there, whoever you meet, whoever you may talk to, you instruct them about Krishna. This is the desire of Lord Chaitanya. This is the ultimate purpose of Rupa Goswami's writings, in order for us to understand this necessity to preach. Why? Because he understands the heart of Lord Chaitanya. And this is the heart of Lord Chaitanya, is to spread the Sankirtan movement and to give that love of Krishna to the conditioned souls. So Rupa Goswami is helping us do that, to propagate the glory of the Lord. And we're going out and doing that with Srila Prabhupada's books, asking people to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And then we may ask them to tell us sometimes also, what did you read? What did you read? In order to hear about the glory of the Lord, but also just to benefit them also, to see what they've understood, to see where they're at. And even sometimes they say, and it's very pleasurable to hear, they describe this, right? It's actually very enlivening when somebody speaks the philosophy, and it's completely new, but they speak the philosophy very nicely, and it's like they've captured the philosophy very well, and it's just like all parts of it, and it's like, okay, what else do you know? What more do you know? You tell me more. You want to hear, because it's enlivening. It's like, oh, here's a person who is coming closer to Krishna consciousness, who's understood the basics of Krishna consciousness, or some advanced level of Krishna consciousness. It's enlivening to hear that from someone who's just even new, who may just walk in, who read Prabhupada's books from. You may have distributed that book to them. How enlivening is that? We can understand to some level, because Srila Prabhupada has engaged us in this activity of pure devotion service, of this book distribution, of this preaching. It brings one to the Madhyama Adhikari platform, or it pushes one to come to that platform. So this is the ecstasy of Vidura, to be able to go and inquire from Maitreya, and it's the ecstasy of Maitreya to get the association of Vidura. So there's this loving exchange, dadati pratigranati, guhyam akyati prachati, bhunkte bhujete chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. As soon as the Vaishnavas come together, that is immediately present. It's a intrinsic part of devotional service. As soon as the Vaishnavas come together, dadati pratigranati, guhyam akyati prachati, bhunkte bhujete chaiva. This is, there's no meeting of Vaishnavas without this. And this is always present. It is. I can't bring the word in my mind, but it is just a characteristic of devotion, of two Vaishnavas meeting, that will go on. As Srila Prabhupada often says, even the materialists, when they come together, that's seen, but specifically of Krishna consciousness. It's loving, love is immediately there. Materialist, what love is there? Exploitation. So these exchanges are seen in these meetings of these Vaishnavas. So, I'll end my class there. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to ask.
It's interesting to note how Maitreya, when he was meeting with Krishna and Uddhava, he wasn't asked to speak, because at that time he was a Kanishta. And obviously Kanishta, because he performed some level of devotional service, and he's not a pure devotee. But due to some Agnata Sukriti, he happened to meet the Supreme Lord, which is only generally possible for someone who's in the highest platform of devotional service. Over there, Maitreya really doesn't get to speak. He just hears. He just listens to the conversation. From that we can understand the position of the Kanishta Adhikari, is that he must listen to Krishna Katha and hear. But by such absorption and hearing, Maitreya advanced to the Madhyama stage, whereby now a pure devotee like Vidura recognizes that, and in order to help him advance further, as Maitreya himself says that Vidura is giving him mercy. What mercy is given to those who are in a lower position. Mercy is not given to somebody who is higher. Mercy descends. And so Vidura is being merciful to Maitreya in order to engage him in Krishna consciousness by making him speak the topics of the Lord. And by such, because the characteristic of one who is in the highest stage is kathayantas chamam nityam. They are able to speak about the Lord, Krishna katha. It's not just hearing, they are able to speak also. And this is the training now Vidura is giving Maitreya. And we see how Srila Prabhupada, he's implemented the same process for us, is it not? We come to Krishna consciousness, and initially we are only asked to hear. When devotees feel that now it seems that this particular devotee has now assimilated the philosophy to some extent, or should have assimilated, then they give them a chance to speak. And it is the duty of one who is interested to advance beyond the platform of being a Kanishta to take up such an opportunity to speak, even though one may feel extremely unqualified, which is the right way to feel. And it is the duty of those who are more advanced to sit in such discourses for the benefit of those who are speaking. This is the process. It happened to me. Spiritual master sit in front 2 times. It's a scary thing. What am I doing speaking in front of him? I had nothing to speak. But it is just it's mercy. It's mercy. Srila Prabhupada sat in discourses of his disciples. Otherwise, in one sense you would think, why do we have a Bhagavatam class anyways? We could just play Prabhupada's tape. I mean, who could speak better than Srila Prabhupada? Why are we being asked to speak? Why is there a Bhagavatam class anyways? Why do we, who are all Kanishtas, have to speak? But this is the process. We see this in the Bhagavatam. So, we don't just read the Bhagavatam as some storybook, but the Bhagavatam, when we read it, we have to understand how it's going to apply in our lives. And it's amazing how Srila Prabhupada has, only the Acharyas can do this, is to make devotional life in such a way that we practice the Bhagavatam as we follow Krishna consciousness. So, I was thinking of that in regards to several of the points that you were making today. It was like, it's just mercy.
Yeah.
It's just mercy. And it, because it's contradictory that one would expect mercy to come by speaking in front of one who is more advanced. You would think it's the other way around, but here you have right there in the Bhagavatam, it's happening. And the next verse actually, Maitreya actually tells Vidura, now I understood why I listened to that conversation. Because Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted to engage me to tell you these things. And it's like, oh, I'm just being used as an instrument. This is such a nice realization.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Ajnata Sukriti is that many times, generally it's true, in most cases we speak of Ajnata Sukriti as how it helped us to come to Krishna consciousness, or how it helped us to become more serious in Krishna consciousness. But actually, this principle of Ajnata Sukriti should actually never be forgotten, even for those who are seemingly fixed up in Krishna consciousness practicing. Because if we can think how powerful it was for us to perform such agyata sukriti, receive such agyata sukriti by performing some unknown devotional service, which we thought was something simple. Then how much powerful can it be when we are practicing Krishna consciousness right now and need to get rid of our anarthas? That if there is any opportunity that we are able to get some mercy, we should take it and we should be enthusiastic to do so. Not that, I'm already doing my service, but if there's some extra opportunity that one gets to serve a great devotee or engage in some little service directly to the deities or anyways, in so many other ways devotional service can be rendered, one should take that opportunity because that's that we need that mercy. We need that mercy to come to Krishna consciousness, what to speak of advancing also.
Yeah. You may realize only years later that that's what kept you in devotional service. It's like, wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, Mitran Prabhu. Wow, I never got a question from Mitran Prabhu before.
Yes, sir. You're recording. So you're saying like loving exchanges between Vaishnava, when Vaishnavas come together, is like loving exchanges. And at the beginning, you're quoting that verse, Drishtaisva Bhava Janatir, that you shouldn't like judge a devotee based on like his bodily like constitution, basically. So that verse is a little different, but the specific like import of that. But sometimes like as a loving exchange, like devotees joke with each other on like a bodily basis. It means like, like just like recently I saw like a Bengali was speaking Bengali and a bunch of Hindi devotees walked by and they started making fun of Bengali because Bengali is a funny language. Yeah. It's a bodily basis. It's just a bodily basis. He's born like that. That's the language he speaks. He's just speaking his language. There are so many things. One devotee is fat, you can make fun of that. It may be in a loving way. One devotee, it's everywhere. One devotee is from one country, one devotee has one accent. Even Indians I see often, they make fun of each other in different ways. So there's loving exchanges like that. At the same time, devotees can get offended like that. So yeah, how to understand, basically. Because somebody can get, it's a way of showing love. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did like that. He would make fun of Bangladeshis, for example. He would like mimic the way they like spoke, and he would like make fun of them, even though they couldn't really like understand it. But sometimes people get offended by such comments. And for example, so is it a fault on the devotee? I mean, like, in other words, like, we have, for instance, the instance of Srila Prabhupada telling Bhakti Tirtha Swami when devotees were making racist comments against him. Of course, that was a little different. Presumably, that was intentionally racist. But the principle is that, like, Srila Prabhupada told him that it is your fault because you're identifying with that constitution, basically. So should we not make such comments at all? Or is it, how to understand, basically?
So, the understanding is that discrimination, when you make that discrimination, if you're saying that is a disqualification to devotional service, then that's where it's like, then now it's a problem. But if that discrimination, you could say, well, like that joking is there, that is a loving relationship. Now say, okay, you're fat, so you can't do devotional service. You're a Bengali, so you can't do devotional service. You're black, so you can't do devotional service. Now that falls into this realm of, making, seeing Vaishnavas, or like seeing that, oh, you're not a Vaishnava because you're black or this and that. But like you said, like sometimes...
I think more is the feeling of stratification of Vaishnavas, not just like, in other words, you may be a Vaishnava, but like you're kind of like lower. And I mean, it's just like, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, for instance. I mean, people don't understand he was a devotee, but people their conception of him, presumably, I'm kind of like speculating, didn't seem to be as high as the other devotees, in other words. So that kind of like feeling can arise. This devotee is like fat, so he's inept. This devotee is Bengali, so he's speaking this funny language, so he's like unintelligent, or something like this,
Yeah, it should be careful. One should be careful in that regard. I mean, there's a lot of different like things within that, but from my understanding overall, is that it shouldn't be. It's kind of understood between the two devotees that are joking, that there's a joke going on. It shouldn't be done just with like random people. You know, like another Vaishnava from another center comes in, it's not that you're going to make fun of him. Like immediately he walks in and it's like you're going at his, you know, how fat he is and how that he looks like this and like that. That would probably be, you know, the Vaishnava may feel a little offended. But then if it's kind of, sometimes they do walk in and we do joke and they kind of understand the mood and the atmosphere, because Vaishnavas, they kind of know the culture that is there. They know we're not looking at them as like a material thing. It's like, okay, still seeing this, he's a Vaishnava, that's the basis of interaction. And then, you know, there may be jokes here and there. Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam or another place writes how even, they would joke with each other. Chitraketu and Lord Shiva, maybe another one also within there. And so there's Chitraketu and Lord Shiva is a good example where Chitraketu was like joking with Lord Shiva and then she got fried out. Even all the other sadhus weren't fried out, but Guru Maharaj mentioned she was fried out. And it's like, why is she fried out? Like none of the other great saintly philosophers, and they're not saying anything. But there is a common culture that is kind of understood. And then there may be sometimes, you know, people coming in and they don't understand the common culture. And they think we're discriminating on that level. So that's why it's important to come in with the idea of, okay, I don't know exactly how like the devotional culture functions. Because sometimes people come in with a materialistic idea that, oh, these guys are like criticizing each other. It's just like we make fun of each other like anything, you know. So if somebody new comes in and they see that, they may think like, oh, what's wrong with these guys? You know, look, the book says here and you're doing this. But it's like there's a common culture, there's a loving exchange of that. The higher principle there is of loving exchange, and we're not seeing that as like, oh, this devotee is like a fat person. We say, oh, this is a Vaishnava, but you know, it is as a part of the joke or whatever, the culture is like that. So there's like, it can be a little bit hard to understand, but it seems that it should be kind of like, you know, it should be felt like, hey, okay, this joke is okay. Even sometimes a joke is what you would sometimes say to a friend in one place is not okay in another place, right? So you have to kind of be a little bit intelligent, be a little bit logical, just have some sense of understanding culture. Just like I may joke with Vishnu Chitta Prabhu, who is my senior, in his room and may make jokes about him or think about him, but I won't do that in front of some new guy that walks in, because there's a certain perception that's developed here, you know. So it's like you have to be intelligent, you have to know how to act, your behavior has to be proper. So that's a part of Vaishnava culture, is to understand what is proper behavior, what is improper behavior. So it kind of has to be seen. It's like that. And then, you know, you have cases where, like you said, you know, in this case with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Prabhupada said, well, you're identifying with that constitution, therefore you're offended, which is true. You know, it's like, why are you offended? It's like, you're not that. It's like, there may be some culture of making fun of that, but you're not that. A Vaishnava should understand. There's a common understanding that we're not this body. Like, we joke about how ugly I am, you know, and it clearly says one should not do that, but it's like understood, hey, you know, it's like, I'm not this body ultimately, and thank God for it, like. So it's like there's commonly understood by the person making the joke and also the person kind of like that is receiving the jokes. It's like that there is that exchange going on. Otherwise, if it seems like it's not understood, then you shouldn't do it. Otherwise, it makes the whole situation really weird and tough to deal with. You have anything else you want to say in regard to that?
Me?
Yeah, it's like a cultural thing also, so it's kind of harder to like define exactly. So it's kind of hard to say this is a line here. So it's like this is kind of, maturity is required. Yeah. It's there in the Vaishnava culture, it's there it's throughout our books, it's there in the, all the way going back to like, Krishna's pastimes. You see all of the boys, Madhu Mangal and all this, he's fat, it's like, he eats a lot, and I'm sure they make fun of him. He's a brahmana. But I'm sure they make fun of him and all of these things. It's like, whatever. So one has to understand the culture. Seems like in America, people overall understand that. When they come in and they see us joking with each other, they understand, oh, these guys are friends and they're not like getting each other's case, and that there's a loving exchange. At least the bhaktas that have come in, they've always said, oh, amongst yourselves, it's always, we really like seeing that loving exchange that's going on. Sometimes devotees from other places, from other countries, it's harder for them to understand a little bit. So,
I also think it's inevitable that sometimes the real transgression will happen here and there.
yeah.
It's inevitable that some transgression will happen here and there. But ultimately, if there's genuine relationships, things will get sorted out. And for those who cannot enjoy those genuine relationships, they tend to fall away from such association because they weren't genuinely related with anybody really there. Otherwise, if they were genuinely related, then there would be some spiritual attachment. And then when they go and reveal their hearts, those who are close with them, they kind of assuage their feelings and things get kind of sorted out, because
it's not that big of a deal. It's
otherwise, if in a relationship you can't, it's not monotonous, so it's not expected to be extremely perfect. Anyways, it's not like that in the spiritual world. It won't be here in the Vaishnava society either.
Yeah, another devotee makes a joke and you get offended, and then in Vaikuntha
it's perfect because you can't joke with Krishna. You don't joke there with Krishna. So, if for those devotees who like that kind of a mood, Krishna accepts that. There is a process of devotional service where such a mood is maintained. And that's possible also. Again, like I said, it depends on what association one gravitates to. And that's the other thing. Sometimes, if devotees are upset in a particular association, and sometimes some of their grievances could be true. But there are other associations that are also genuine, where if one feels more comfortable with that mood, one can gravitate to such association. There is nothing wrong. Neither party should get offended by such a change. Oh, you betrayed. Nothing like that. It's like, it seems to fit there better. Good. Ultimately, devotees want to see each other practice Krishna consciousness and be happy. It is a voluntary movement after all. You're not forced.
I can walk out
stay
right
here
now.
And you have to,
Thank you for the computer. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Anything else? Vamsi Prabhu, you had something? Yeah. 2 minutes practically.
Like some.
Are you good?
No, but sometimes we see that devotees, I have seen devotees, they are in this mood to joke about others or speak behind them or something. Not speaking ill about them behind, but then sometimes we see that that slowly that becomes a nature, and then he gravitates to that mode where he goes to higher authorities also in that way. Means I have seen cases like that. So what do you say about this then?
You got to see the culture that is there, and also see the level of where that devotee is at. Like I said, those things that can't be definite because it's a cultural thing, and culture it's like hard to particularly define. That's why, Maharaj sometimes says, trying to write a book on Vaishnava etiquette and culture, and it's like, how do you like imagine writing American culture into a book? It's like, how do you do that? So it has to be kind of seen that those Vaishnavas are mature to understand. Where it's too far, or sometimes they may have to be addressed. Hey, it's like, hey, this one was like a little too far, just pull it back a bit. Nobody's offended, but just like chill out a little bit. And then they'll understand and they change. So that, you just got to see, because you don't want it to get to a position, huh?
It's the duty of the senior when they go to the senior.
Yeah.
And then the senior has to see.
Yeah, what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. It can be inappropriate, but we don't want to cut it and bring it to a point where it's just grave. It's like nobody can joke, nobody can say anything, Generally, Vaishnavas joke about each other, and that's completely fine. But it just should be, it should it's really judged by seeing whether that advancement of devotional service is taking place or as a result of that or not. That's actually how it's judged ultimately. Maybe this detail and that detail may be there, but ultimately, is there a level of advancement in devotional service? Of course, there's some guards you have to have, but so you have to see how far that goes, because sometimes that joke may be there, and then if it gets offensive, then it has to be addressed. And so it just means, but then we may not take it offensively. We may say, okay, this person got carried away a little bit, and just kind of give him a little bit of direction, because I've had that in my life where it's like, you don't realize you're getting to that point, and then somebody points it out, and you understand. And it's not that you become grave and some guy who never jokes again. You continue to jokes, but you understand where the line is. So it just means kind of establishing that culture properly. Otherwise, it goes the other way, and you have this situation where everybody's prashadam is like, only talk about Krishna. It's like, come on, we don't want to be in that atmosphere. So it just means we have to regulate things, and that's what the duty, like he was saying, the duty of the seniors are there to kind of to see that out and judge that and see that it's proper. And then later we might realize it's not proper, and then we have to change the culture. So accordingly. Okay. I gotta end. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.